whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, I've been an advocate for Washington holding off on the inevitable, what feels like the inevitable at least. And that's putting Curtis Samuel, never ever trust a man with two first names, on IR for the remainder of the season. He's already been on short-term IR once. You cannot put him on it a second time. If you are to put him on IR again, it would be for good. And I'm at the point now because of the latest development. Yesterday, he was a non-participant in practice, but was out on the practice field, just not participating in practice. Today, he was not at practice. His absence was definitely noticeable. And furthermore, it was reported that he visited a doctor / specialist for an update on his groin. So what that says to me, because if your groin is healing and it's trending in the right direction, you're not visiting a doctor or a specialist. It's sort of like when a guy has an MRI and then we hear that he's seeking a second opinion. That means the first opinion that he heard wasn't news that was appealing to him, and so he's looking for someone else to tell him something different because he wants better news. If Curtis Samuel were doing better, if the groin were healing properly or healing at the rate that they thought it might be or should be healing, then he would be out on the field. But it's not, obviously. So at this point, we're 2-6. We're more likely than not going to be 2-7 after Sunday's contest. Right around 4-13 on Sunday, we'll be 2-7. We're not going anywhere this year. We think he's a part of the future. We're not sure because we haven't really seen him this year, but we know what the guy is capable of when healthy. So that's the key phrase here is healthy, which he is not. There's no reason to push him and make things worse and then have it impact next year. Just shut him down for the season and we'll try again next year. That's kind of where I'm at with mine right now in regards to one Curtis Samuel at this point. And as a Washington fan, we've seen this movie too many times before where we spend on a free agent to be and we spend big money and then get little to no returns out of the investment, specifically at the wide receiver position. Antoine Randall rings a bell. Obviously, the latest of these moves, you could go Brandon Lloyd if you wanted to. That was more of a trade, but still, I think we paid him good money as well after trading for him. The list goes on and on and on with these guys, but obviously the latest of that group was another guy that a lot of you pointed out very quickly, wore 10 here in Washington as well, in Paul Richardson. So hopefully this is not another Paul Richardson acquisition. I don't think it is, but again, just going off of what we saw this year, hasn't really helped this team. Only played in 2 games this season, thus, and really didn't play in a full game really this season. I mean, you could count the Falcons game, but honestly hasn't really played in a full game this season. Partial game against the Saints, and I guess you could give him full credit for the Falcons game. So maybe a game and a half this year. Anyway, I'm at the point now, I'm like, just shut the dude down. What are we talking about here? This team isn't making a late season run. Don't hold your breath and wait for us to climb back into the NFC wildcard race. What are you holding on to at this point? Let the man heal up. And again, we'll try this next season, hopefully with a offense that's retooled, that's healthy, featuring a different quarterback and ready to rock and roll. But I don't see the purpose now of trying to drag this guy back onto the field this season. For what is really the question now. Obviously, the man is not healthy. He's not 100%. At this point, I just say shut him down and we'll get after it next year. All right? Go get him, Tiger, next year. As for Logan Thomas, meanwhile, he was one of the guys. There was a long laundry list of guys we were hoping to get back after this bye week. Sam Cosmi, Brandon Sheriff, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, William Jackson III. These were all names of guys we were hoping to get back after the bye week, healthy and ready to go. Well, it sounds like we're not quite there with Logan Thomas. We talked about this on Monday when Ron referenced Logan Thomas and said, hey, he looked good today. The question is, what does he feel like tomorrow? And if he feels good tomorrow, meaning Tuesday, then we will have him on the field on Wednesday. Well, Logan Thomas apparently felt some tightness, which is not a good thing. He did not practice today. That's not a good sign. Remember, he's still technically on IR. Washington has, I believe, 21 days now until they have to make a decision whether to activate him back onto the active roster or to make him inactive for the remainder of the season and a member of the injured reserve list for the year. So this is not a good sign. And while Ricky Seals-Jones has been playing well, we miss Logan Thomas in more ways than one. His physicality as a blocker, his leadership on the field, but more importantly, his ability to help us where we've struggled mightily this season in the red zone. So this is not the kind of news we were expecting coming out of the bye week. You know, we waited long and hard for these guys to come back, and it looks like a couple of these pieces, De'Ami Brown, another guy that we were hoping to get back after the bye week as well. Sounds like we're going to get a vast majority of these guys back, but two of the bigger skill guys in Logan Thomas and Curtis Samuel, not quite exactly. Sounds like we're going to get those guys back. Not exactly. So that's something to stay tuned with. I was under the assumption that, by Saturday we'd be hearing great things and they'd be activating him and he'd be playing on Sunday. But this latest report throws a nice, healthy dose of cold water on that theory. I think Logan Thomas may be out just a tad bit longer, maybe done for the season for all we know. I don't think a hamstring injury is going to put him out for the rest of the year, but I do think we may have to wait another week, possibly two, before we see Logan Thomas on the field. Again, it could have just gotten tight. It could loosen back up. He could feel good on Friday. He could feel good on Saturday. They could activate him. He could play. Hamstrings, just like groins, very, very tricky. So we will see, but not good news coming out of Ashburn in regards to two of our skilled players that we were looking to get back in week number 10 post-bye. So let's transition to in other news. And we'll first talk about the injury report. We just talked about some injuries and some impactful guys that we probably will not have back for the Week 10 contest versus Tampa. Let's take a look at the rest of the list of guys on the injury report. And then let's take a look at Tampa's list because it's getting somewhat interesting, even though I still think that most of those guys are going to play. Let's take a look. So what you see here is the list for Washington. And we've just talked about Curtis Samuel and his situation. And I'm pretty much, I've told you this already, and I mentioned this and referenced this yesterday. Until he plays, he's out for me every week. Doesn't matter what it says, full participant in practice, limited participant. We're used to racking up the DNPs with Curtis Samuel, but until he actually plays, I got no confidence in him playing. And at this point, like I said, they're probably better served just shutting the guy down. Montez Sweat, we know he's not playing. Those two guys, don't look at them. When we look at this injury report for the remainder of the week, those two guys are out. We know that for a fact. We didn't know that with Curtis Samuel. We do now. With him seeking the opinion of a doctor, yeah, he's out. And again, I don't know if they need to bring him back at this point this season. Meanwhile, the rest of the list looks pretty damn good. Now, we have a new addition to the list in Benjamin St-Juste, who was out of practice today with an illness. I usually tend to disregard illnesses. Like, okay, it's Thursday. He's got till Sunday. He'll be fine. I got to stop doing that. I got to stop treating these guys like they're, some kind of machines or something. Like, just think of it this way. If you don't feel well on Thursday, do you just go back to work on Friday? I mean, unless it's a 24-hour bug that you have and, you get it all out of your system and you feel great the next morning. Generally, if you're out of work on Thursday, the chances are you're not heading to work on Friday. And you may not feel better on Saturday. Maybe you start to feel better on Sunday. But if you're not keeping down fluids, if you can't keep any food down and you feel weak, are you really going to be able to be serviceable and functional on Sunday? Like, I got to stop doing that. Generally, these football players, though, when they have illnesses, they're short-lived. They're usually, 24 to 48 hours long, and then they're back out there. So I'm going to assume Benjamin St-Juste is going to be available on Sunday. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Hopefully, he's a full participant tomorrow, and we can put that issue to bed. But the other guys on the list, everything looks good. Everything looks status quo. De'Ami Brown, Sam Cosmi, Antonio Gibson, Samis Reyes, Brandon Sheriff, Cam Sims, and William Jackson, all, just like yesterday, all in some form or fashion participated in practice. And William Jackson III is definitely playing. This is 2 straight days of full practice for him. He's a full go, barring any kind of a setback. For everyone else, limited practice is a good thing. And Sam Cosmi had a press conference yesterday in which he said, yeah, he feels good, and barring a setback, he should be out there on Sunday. So it looks like we're going to get a lot of these guys back healthy, ready to rock and roll, and that's a good sign for this offense. But we're still missing 2 of the big pieces. But you get back what you can get back and be thankful that you can get some stuff back that we had been missing prior to this week as we progress over to the Buccaneers side of things. And I told you guys yesterday that for the most part, the first 4 guys on this list are the most important guys. Everyone else on this list, they're insignificant with the exception of Giovanni Bernard. But he's going to play. He's a full participant, similar to William Jackson III. He's been a full participant both days to this point. He's going to play. Rashard Robinson, D. Delaney, these are both reserve defensive backs that they would rather not see on the football field. But you'd like to have the depth if you're Tampa because of how badly you've been hurt in that secondary. That said, those aren't big names. Those aren't guys that are really going to impact this game. Steve McClendon wasn't on this list yesterday, but as you can see, non-injury related, he's just getting rest as a veteran. So really the focus should be on the first 4 names on this list: Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, and Jason Pierre-Paul. For those 4 guys, I told you that only 2 of them are serious threats to miss the game. Well, I stand corrected because none of them practice again on Thursday. Now, here's the thing. With guys the caliber and ilk of these 4, they don't have to practice 1 iota this week to play on Sunday. Okay, it's not like you're dealing with a rookie or a guy that, the coaching staff doesn't necessarily trust. These are all veteran players that know exactly what they need to do, and if they don't practice 1 single snap or rep during a week, still can suit up and give it a go on Sunday. That said, I don't think Rob Gronkowski is playing. I told you guys that yesterday. I'm sticking steadfast to that. They even admitted prior to the bye in Week 8 versus the Saints that they rushed him back. He re-aggravated his back injury. I don't expect Rob Gronkowski to play in this game or furthermore for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm not worried about Gronk in this contest. However, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Jason Pierre-Paul are guys that I think have a chance to play. A.B. missed a couple of games prior to the bye. I think he is in doubt. I do question whether he's going to be able to go or not, but I'm not counting him out. Godwin, I think, is going to play. I'm still sticking to my guns on him and JPP being available for the game on Sunday. But, anything can happen. But my suspicions lead me to believe that AB and Gronk are the 2 guys that could miss the game. Gronk definitely missing the game. Meanwhile, Godwin and JPP are both going to play. We'll see what happens. But again, like I said yesterday, a situation worth monitoring. No practices for any of those 4 guys the first 2 days. I surmise that we'll see a couple of those names change from DMP to LP tomorrow. But again, we will see. So let's get back to in other news where a lot of guys stepped up to the podium between yesterday and today. So yesterday, remember I talked about not having seen any press conferences. The Washington football team, media relations team, did a poor job of getting the website updated. They were super late. I tried to wait as late as I could yesterday before coming on to see if they would put the press conferences up on the site. They never did. But luckily enough, they put it up there finally, and I was able to listen to Ron Rivera. I was able to listen to Sam Cosmi, also able to listen to Taylor Heineke and Terry McLaurin. So all of those guys talked yesterday. Today, we got coordinator day. So we got Scott Turner, we got Jack Del Rio, and we also heard from Cole Holcomb. And so a number of guys spoke. Nothing really earth-shattering. A couple more Chase Young questions were aimed at Ron, cleaned everything up there. I think, Taylor Heineke it's funny that I had the conversation about Heineke yesterday because Heineke spoke about, this being essentially, the game that put him on the map, which is what I talked about yesterday, and he said, look, I still watch film of that game, but obviously it's a different Buccaneers defense and it's a different year. And so he talked about his bye week, and a lot of questions were aimed at guys and what they were able to do on their bye week, this, that, and the third. Cosme talked about, feeling good and feeling like he's getting back to where he needs to be able to help this team on the field. And, some of the questions were fun. Pete Haley of NBC Sports Washington asked every player essentially about their diet and what they eat. And, so there were some, good, fun questions in there. But all in all, when you listen to all of these guys speak, nothing really was gained necessarily from anyone. Terry talked about, I did find this interesting. I think there were a couple of questions that Terry answered. Everything he answers is well thought out. Terry's, pressers can go for a full 20 minutes because his answers are literally usually 5 minutes apiece, seems like. But he's very thoughtful in the way that he answers his questions. And one question in particular was asked of him, anything that he found difficult this year. And he said, the pressure of being a number one wide receiver. And he said, look, this is what I want. I want to be the guy, and I want, to be the guy that this team looks to make big plays and this, that, and the third. And I put that kind of pressure on myself and this, that, and the other. But he said, it's tough week in, week out, putting in the work and the attention to detail that it takes and, getting the attention that you get from the other team, knowing that you got to be the guy to make the play for your team or else, essentially. And, what that got me to thinking is it's not that Terry can't handle being a number one. And that wasn't what he was saying. I think that was his way of saying, I need help. I'm sick and tired of doing this shit by myself. I need help. Every week, every team is trying to take me away, and there's no one taking any pressure off of me. Where is my help? I've been doing this for 3 years now. We were supposed to have some help for me this year. Curtis hasn't been healthy. You drafted this De'Ami Brown kid. He's been hurt, and when he has been healthy, he hasn't really been a big difference maker. Where's my damn help? I'm sick of doing this shit by myself. That's what that sounded like to me. And again, for those of you out there that, oh my God, Terry's going to leave. He's not going anywhere. Terry wants to be here, okay? Terry's not going anywhere. They're not going to let Terry leave. Terry will re-sign with this football team. You have nothing to worry about. But to that point, Terry's like, bro, I need help. I need other guys to step up. And some of that is on Heineke. Get the football to Adam Humphries, who is open every single game. I can't stress this enough. So there are other guys that can make plays, and Heineke has to do a better job of distributing the football, getting the ball to other guys, and allowing other guys to open up things for Terry, not just Terry trying to open up things for everyone else. So he also talked about Chase Young and, his leadership and his ability to overcome all of, the naysayers and all of the people that are doubting him and all the criticism that he's, taking on right now. He's like, yo, Chase, he's that guy. He doesn't run from any of this stuff, and he comes to work every day with a smile on his face, ready to work, and works just as hard, if not harder, than everybody else on the team. So he did say that about Chase Young as well. So with today's pressers, we got the two coordinators, and we also heard from Cole Holcomb. I always like hearing from Cole because Cole keeps it a buck. He's like, yeah, look, we can all do better, and then he'll say specifically what he can do better. Like, yeah, I'm watching film, and you see the moment where I figure out what's going on, and then it still takes me another, step or two before I actually react. And, you trust your eyes, you see it go, and so he's, talking about that's something he can work on, getting off a block, shedding blocks, getting to the ball carrier, things of that nature. So he's always really introspective when they talk to him. As for the coordinators, Del Rio really didn't give us much. He pretty much said, look, we're going to be without Montez Sweat. He's a big part of this football team. But, next man up. A couple of young guys are going to get some opportunities. James Smith-Williams, Shaka Toney, these guys are going to get an opportunity to play. What Ron did say, let me double back to Ron real quick because this just jogged my memory. He talked about Rotimi Bumney getting an opportunity, which I'm excited about. I mean, because he showed some explosiveness in preseason. Now, how much is he really going to play? I don't know. I don't think we'll even see him on the field, really, in the rotation. But you never know. I mean, we're going to see. Obviously, James Smith-Williams is going to get the starters reps alongside Chase. That's what we do know. And then Casey Toohill will probably be the first one off the bench. I think that's something else that's a safe assumption to make. After that, however, it's anybody's guess. I'm assuming Shaka Toney's going to get the first crack at it. He's been getting some opportunities over the last few weeks. They've been few and far between, but that's the guy that I think they are excited about and want to see. And so he'll get the next crack after Toohill. And then I think it'll be, Bumney getting an opportunity last. And again, it'll be interesting to see if we've got anything here worth talking about. And this is one of the things I talked about, when referring to the second half of this season. I want to see the young boys play, and we're gonna get an opportunity to see that in this game, starting with this game and maybe moving forward. So Del Rio, but going back to Del Rio, he talked about the young guys getting an opportunity, and this is what this league is all about. You get an opportunity, you need to seize that opportunity. Speaking of opportunities, and Del Rio did say that he felt like the defense was coming along really well and they're playing better, which they are. And this will be a great test for them. Everything that they've done the last 3 weeks to a month has been trending in this direction towards, playing better football, but it could be all undone in one game. I mean, everything that we have seen this defense do, from the Saints game and giving up the two big plays to the Chiefs game and really being in that game until the wheels fell off late, and then going to the Packers game and really having a chance in that game. The defense, I thought, played one of its best games of the season. And then going to the Broncos game where the defense gave us chances, but when the game was on the line, they didn't make any plays until it was damn near too late. But they gave us the ball back, which you can't argue with that. But I thought the defense was good enough to win the game against the Broncos as well. Let's see what they do against Tampa Bay. He says they're feeling good. They're in a good spot right now. We'll see what happens. But speaking of opportunities, offensive coordinator Scott Turner said he really liked what running back Jarrett Patterson did with his opportunity that he got in Week 8 versus the Denver Broncos. Said it's a really good situation to have when a guy like Jarrett Patterson can step in, take a little bit of that pressure off of the other two backs in Jerick McKinnon, and J.D. McKissick, and Antonio Gibson. So will we see more of him? He said, we might see a little bit of Jarrett Patterson because, in this league, you get an opportunity, you make the most of it, you get more opportunities. And he did a really good job. And so I think he's going to get some more opportunities this week versus the Bucs. We'll see how that goes for him. Turner also talked about, because I think one of the quotes that kind of got a lot of people saying, after the Week 8 loss to Denver was offensive tackle Charles Leno Jr.'s comments about this team needing to find an identity. And I've said this already, and I think a lot of you have said the same thing. We don't have an identity. We don't know what the hell we want to do. We don't know. And I think I know more so what the identity of this team is. It's a pass team. We're a finesse team. We don't grind anybody into submission with the run game. We generally don't stick with it even when it's working. So we're more of a pass it team. We're more of a, throw to set up the run type of team. And Leno said we need to take the things that we do well and do more of that and minimize the things we don't do well. And we need to establish some sort of identity. We really don't have one. And to that point, Scott Turner said, look, in this league, your identity it needs to be versatility. And he said he remembers hearing Bill Belichick say, versatility is identity. The ability to be versatile enough to do whatever needs to be done that week to win. If you're playing against the number 1 rated rush defense like the Buccaneers have been in past years, then you don't need to even, bang your head against that brick wall. Come out and throw it 45 times and see what happens, which is what the Cowboys did in week 1 against this Buccaneers team. They knew they couldn't run it, so they didn't even waste their time trying. But and there are certain weeks where, the run defense is shoddy and you need to run it. So that's what you do. You come out and you run it and have a heavy run game plan. So he's like, the ability to do a little bit of everything is critical and crucial in this league. And he said, that's what we're striving to be, a team that can do a little bit of everything. He also referenced all the guys coming back from injury. And he's like, look, it's always good when you get guys that you perceive to be starters coming back into the lineup, and we're getting so many of them. So it's going to be a good situation for us. But, we still got to find ways to make the most of the situation. And then he talked about the quarterback position. And I thought that was interesting because, he talked about the difference between quarterbacks now and back in the day and how it's just different now. And he said that, obviously less practice time, that's a factor. The expectations, I think that's the biggest one for me, is that everyone wants immediate gratification. Everybody wants immediate results. So when a guy comes out, he struggles right away or early on, oh, he stinks. And that's the end all be all. A guy can't get better. He just stinks. And he's like, yeah, that's the biggest thing now is that, and Rivera talked about this the other day where he said, look, there used to be a time, and he's right about this, where when you drafted a guy in the first round, he wasn't necessarily expected to start, Just because you drafted a guy in the first round doesn't mean you don't have other players in front of him. It's almost like college back in the day. If you got a bunch of upperclassmen that are playing at a specific position, but you got this 5-star recruit that just came, even though this 5-star recruit is capable of coming on the field and playing right now, you still got guys in front of him. He's got to wait his turn. That's no longer the case in the NFL. With the salary cap being what it is and with the expectations being what they are now, you draft a guy in the first round, he needs to be on the field, especially if he's a non-quarterback. He needs to be on the field ASAP, and he needs to be contributing in a major way or else. Ron said there was a time when, second and third round picks, those guys weren't starters right out of the gate for a lot of teams for the most part. You drafted those guys and you developed them, and then at some point in their rookie season, you hope they could get on the field and contribute. Now, second and third rounders, you're looking at those guys as an extension of the first round. Like our first 2-day picks, first, second, third, those guys need to be on the field ASAP helping his team out. So times have changed, and Scott Turner pretty much said the same thing about the quarterback position. Like times have changed, and the expectation for these guys has changed. And, it sucks because it drastically pushes up that timeline that you have for these quarterbacks. Instead of you getting 4 years to see if a guy can do it or not, that number's turning into more like 2, 3 at the most before a real conclusion is reached on a guy. And sometimes I still think that's too premature for some of these quarterbacks. Like Daniel Jones, jury's still out on Daniel Jones. If he were here in Washington, I would probably be beating a lot of you off with a stick right now because you would be trying to run him out of town. And you would have been trying to run him out of town after year one for some of you, even though he threw 27 touchdowns in his first year in the league. That still would have been good enough for you because he fumbled so many times and he threw 13 picks. So you would have been ready to run him out of town after year one. Year two, he took a massive step back, but he still shows the potential of a guy that can be a starter. And I just feel like you need time. He's dealt with injuries. He dealt with Saquon being out, which was supposed to be a guy that was really going to help his development. And this is the second year Saquon really hasn't been healthy for him. And so I still think the jury's out on Daniel Jones. But people have already spoken. This is how they feel about him. They think he stinks. And it's only year 3 of Daniel Jones. So That's pretty much what he said. Look, it is what it is. He talked about the Buccaneers and the talent that they have on their team, and it's a formidable group, and they're coming off of a Super Bowl win, so they've got swag. He says it's going to be a tough challenge, but, we'll be up for it. So we'll see what happens there. So one last issue here to tackle and address in other news, and that's obviously the signing of one Cameron Newton, who reunited, and it feels so good. Reunited because we understood. Cam Newton is back in Carolina, reunited with the Panthers after Sam Darnold went down with an injury that's supposed to keep him out 4 to 6 weeks. Go figure, it would happen when we play them next week. This year isn't our year. We don't catch any of the breaks. Russell Wilson is out for a month. We obviously don't get the benefit of playing against Geno Smith. We're going to get Russell Wilson when he's back, had a couple of games under his belt on a Monday night. Go figure. We can't catch a break this year. Beggars can't be choosers. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. I wanted to see what this team was made of, and obviously we weren't made of what we thought we were made of coming into the season. That said, I just want to look at it from this angle because I know we're going to get this. And I know this fan base. I know this fan base like the back of my hand, so I already know what's coming. God forbid he plays well, especially if they beat us in next week and he plays well in the victory over us. We'll never hear the end of it. All those Cam Newton truthers out there, they're going to come to the forefront. They're going to shine light on this situation and say, see, I told you we should have signed Cam Newton. Let's hope that this doesn't happen. Let's hope that this doesn't come to fruition. If he plays well and they beat us, we are going to hear this for the remainder of the season. I am not looking forward to it, but we'll see. I've been adamant. You know my stance. I've been adamant that I didn't want any parts of Cam Newton. And a lot of you felt the same way, but there were enough of you out there. I think a small sector of the fan base, but enough of you that wanted to kick the tires on Cam Newton and say, what do we got to lose? We got shit here. We got nothing. Why not bring him in? And I'm like, no, we're good. He's not going to move the needle for us. We'll see what he does. It's pretty telling that the guy that literally drafted him and had him his entire career decided, nah, we're good on him. So we'll see. I'm not looking forward to it because, again, I know the Cam Newton truthers are going to come out of the woodworks if they were to win this week, but especially if they were to win next week against us and he plays well. Lord have mercy on all of us who thought that Cam Newton couldn't do it. We will not hear the end of it. I'm ready for all the smoke, though. If Derek B is already saying, I told you. And I said, they haven't played a game yet. But we'll see what happens. Just know that he's out there for the Carolina Panthers. I know a lot of you will have a watchful eye on that. We'll see how it goes. Let's just hope, for our sake, that he doesn't play well, especially next week against us. Because if he does, oh my God, this season will get even longer than it already is. So let's transition to our first look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Week 10, Buccaneers, Washington. Bucs come off a bye. Washington coming off of a bye. Bucs are 6-2. Washington 2-6. This wasn't the way this game was supposed to be. We were supposed to be 4-4, 3-5 at the least coming into this game. And here we are at 2-6 and our season essentially on life support. We're needing the assistance of a breathing machine right now, and I think the Buccaneers are going to pull the plug on that breathing machine on Sunday and officially pronounce our season dead. I've already done it. I've already buried this season 2 weeks ago after the loss to Denver, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. If we beat the Buccaneers, that could be a signature win that sparks this team and yada, yada, yada. Don't hold your breath. Don't count on that happening. Even if every single one of those four guys that we deem to be major contributors for the Buccaneers don't play on Sunday, they still got Mike Evans. Okay, they still got a slew of receivers, including the kid from Minnesota that they drafted last year in the 5th round that can play. They still got, I don't know if Scotty Miller is back from injury or not, but they still got a bunch of stuff. They still got O.J. Howard at tight end, Cameron Braid at tight end. They'll find a way to make do with what they have, even if everyone that's on that injury report doesn't play, those big four. But as I mentioned before, Chris Godwin's going to play. Even if Antonio Brown doesn't, Chris Godwin's going to be out there. I just look at it like this. Their offense is, to me, because of Brady and his presence, their offense is one of the hardest to stop in football. And they exposed us last year. We thought we were playing good. We thought we were this, really good defense. I never thought we were great defensively. I just thought we were really good and we were trending in the right direction. They put up a boatload of yards and, things on us in that game. And I think they're going to do it again. Everything that we've done recently with this defense, trending in the right direction, not having Montez Sweat hurts because he was one of the most productive guys when we played them last year, and now he's not available. So like Ron said, a lot of the attention is going to shift to Chase. They're going to shift their protections his way and just make sure that he's not an impact. And other guys are going to have to win. We'll see if they can do that or not. But I just think their offense is too much for our defense to handle. But even their defense, which has been a bit of a disappointment this season with all the injuries, our offense is a joke right now. And even though we're getting guys back, we're still not getting the guys back that we need to really make an impact. I mean, you're still not getting Logan Thomas. Even if we weren't getting Curtis Samuel back, if we just got Logan Thomas back, that would be huge because our problem isn't moving the football. Our problem is punching it in once we get to the red zone. Logan Thomas helps with that. So not having him is huge. All right, so I just look at this whole situation. I think the offense is going to be, modest at best. This Buccaneers secondary is so banged up. They're getting some guys back, but they're still banged up. I'm not afraid of their secondary. I think we can exploit their secondary. Even when their secondary was healthy, I still felt like there were opportunities for plays to be made against their secondary. But, even with the injuries that they have, it's even more so vulnerable. But are we in a position to take advantage of it is the real question. And the answer to that right now is no. Don't think we're taking advantage of that. But we'll see. I like our chances against their defense, to be honest with you. If we can protect. If we can keep Heineke upright, and they know what Heineke's capable of, as their head coach Bruce Arians already laid out. Like, we know what this kid is now. We didn't know before. So trust and believe that they're going to try to do what the teams have had the most success against him this year, like Buffalo, what was the game? Denver, and even the Saints to a lesser degree, and the Chiefs especially. They're going to try to keep him in that cup, keep him in the pocket. Don't let him out. Don't let him run. Don't let him find any green grass, and make him throw from the pocket and beat them and see if he can do that. And if they can protect him, I think he can shred that Buccaneers secondary. But again, it doesn't matter what you do from 20 to 20. What matters is what you do when you get in that green zone. And for us, it's been a struggle the last month or so. And no Logan Thomas, as it seems to be the case right now, it isn't going to help. And I don't know if there's a remedy for that right now. It's good to get Antonio Gibson a little bit healthier and get De'Ami Brown back and, things of that nature. But I still think that this is an offense that it's going to struggle in the red zone. And I think the Buccaneers, they're going to give up some yards. We're going to move the football. But when it comes time to putting the football in the end zone, I think that's where we're going to struggle. And that's where this game will be lost. And they'll ultimately run away and hide because they're capable of scoring in bunches and we're not. So that's your first look at the Buccaneers. We'll get into the intricate details of this game. I'll give you my keys to both the offense and defense. And then I'll give you my prediction for the outcome. But you guys leave it down in the comment section, whether it's Cam Newton talk or quarterback talk in general or something that you've heard this week that's interesting or, just this game alone. I mean, a lot of you have said, not a lot of you, some of you said, hey, we're going to win this game. Well, that's the same thing you said against the Packers. And that's the same thing you said against the Broncos. So, some of you are the constant optimists and bless your heart. But I don't see that being the case this week. But I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section. Leave a comment. So that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on Washington Football Nightly. I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. I will see you guys Friday with the keys to the game and the final injury report, which will be key for both teams, and my prediction and more. See you then. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.